Ladies and gentlemen, what is up and welcome today to the first part of the guide for Infinity Gauntlet Thanos and Marvel Contest of Champions. So this is going to be part 1 of 2, and what I want to do between both of the guides, so today's guide is going to be all focused on the best champions for fighting Thanos. So we're going to go through all of the characters that I believe to be top options. I've done so much testing on this dude and found some really cool interactions between some of the top characters. So we're going to talk a lot today about the best characters, why they're the best characters, what they bring to the table, how to kind of line up various characters in your setup throughout the fight to kind of maximize their effectiveness between some of the phases. And the second video, which is going to be hopefully coming out, just a few hours after this one, is going to be a full breakdown of the fight. So I spent like 4 hours testing this fight, even further this morning, did a ton of gameplay, ton of recording, and we have some insane stuff to share on that video. So that's going to be the second video coming out a little bit later, but today we're going to talk about the preparation, the setup, the champions, what stuff is really good, what stuff you need to know when building your team. So we are going to get up our incredibly fun Word document now, full of notes to assist you through this and talk about some of the essential basic information you need to know. So the first thing is that Thanos cannot be power controlled, and that's very important to bear in mind. So any champions with power control abilities like magical vision just are completely redundant in terms of those abilities for this fight. Also, Thanos cannot be affected by ability accuracy reduction, so champions like Black Widow will have no effect on him. The only interaction with ability accuracy reduction is Blade does break the fight a little bit occasionally, and we'll talk about kind of how that interaction works if you are kind of intending to do this fight with Blade. And also Thanos' stun immune below 40% health, but between, 100% and 40%, you can stun the crap out of this dude and really use it to your advantage. So in terms of desirable abilities of what you're looking for on your champions, the most desirable thing a lot of people can agree on is a ton of damage. That is the biggest thing you're looking for in terms of your champions. You want a really high amount of immediate damage, because this is really desirable for the last 40% of the fight, where you might die kind of multiple times to the special free, but if you are a super good player, then yeah, bringing in ramp up champions like Star-Lord can work very well as well. The second desirable ability to have is the ability to either survive special freeze, negate their damage, or regenerate a little bit to cover some of this. So yeah, abilities like Luke Cage's Indestructible, Iceman, also Gwenpool, very valuable for the second Thanos. There is actually a way to kill the second Thanos, the last 30%, without having to land a single intercept at all, which is something that I really want to share with you guys on the second video, and we'll explain how that works in detail in a bit. But Gwenpool, man, absolute MVP for that final Thanos. She is so good for that. Also, stun above 40%. Any champions that have stun abilities, we're talking Luke Cage, Gwenpool, Hyperion, can be very valuable as well. Hulk. Also, bleed immunity for the first phase of the second Thanos is an incredibly desirable feature to build into your team, just because he will have something called evolution armor, and you can't, if you attack him while he has evolution armor, you take like a ridiculous amount of bleed damage, and there is kind of like a small window where you can get in like a 5 combo, maybe 2 if you're really lucky with the parry timing, and maybe a special attack as well. But the first phase of the second Thanos is very slow if you do not bring some sort of bleed immune champion to deal with him. And then finally, any champion tagged as Avengers, and it has to be the Avengers tag, it can't be the new Avengers tag, because that's a tag in game as well, that Wolverine has, but if they just have the basic Avengers tag, they gain class advantage against Thanos after 10 seconds into the fight, whereas, if you don't have Avengers, everybody's at a class disadvantage, and also Avengers also have an additional safeguard against both Thanos' special freeze, capping the damage taken at 10% of their maximum health. So yeah, something important to bear in mind there, and a nice little bonus. But generally, a lot of the Avengers characters are a little bit weaker than some of our top options, but there are a few Avengers that are viable that we'll have a little bit of a talk about. So, Top Dons, a man who ticks all of the boxes, ladies and gentlemen. Luke Cage is such an MVP for this fight. He's just ridiculous. Again, you can get a ton of damage, ability to survive special freeze. You have the stun above 40%, which you can get some really, really nice chain-ons as well, just to zerg through those phases. You've got bleed immunity, makes the second Thanos phase 1 really, really easy. So yeah, Luke Cage is just an absolute MVP for fighting Thanos. Very, very valuable champion to have. And he's great kind of, definitely above 40% health on both of the Thanoses, but also is indestructible. You can, you know, eat one of the first special freeze and take no damage as well. So yeah, a lot of value across both of the fights of Luke Cage there, and also he's a great champion to revive up if he does happen to die, because, you know, you got that additional cheat death, additional cheat damage there. The second option is Star-Lord, especially on, well, he kind of works well on both of the Thanoses, because if you are playing very, very well and you understand the fight and you're not getting hit, you can ramp up the damage. Generally, the start of the fight is mainly the easier phase. You know, it's fairly lax once you get used to what's happening. And the timing, so you can get the big damage there and then kind of ramp up and really bring the damage to zerg through the more difficult stages later in the fight. So once you understand the fight quite well, Star-Lord can be a great option to bring as well. Now next up we have a very high immediate burst champion, which is Stark Enhanced Spider-Man. However, his taunt ability can break the fight. So from his various phases, he's only going to be using like one special attack from, like, I believe it's like 95% till 65%, and then 65% till 30%, but if you have Stark Enhanced Spider-Man, it will trigger like an earlier phase in the fight. So yeah, he can potentially break the fight, and that might sound a little bit confusing if you haven't seen the fight yet, but yeah, you'll very much understand if you know, go in with kind of a standard character that doesn't have Taunt and Stark Enhanced Spider-Man, how that can interact and maybe make the fight a little bit more hectic at times, but as long as you're aware of what all the specials do, you know, it's not too bad. And I've seen a full one-shot, I believe, I think it's Mutant 97, has a full one-shot of both Thanoses with a 5-star rank 5-star Enhanced Spider-Man up and available on his YouTube channel. So the next champion, who is also a really, really good option, is Gwenpool. Gwenpool is just insane for this fight. You know, her awakened ability to tank specials and always survive them, and only take a bit of her, it's quite a large chunk of her current health, but it's always current health, so when it gets to the later Thanos phases, if you're playing well, if you're intercepting well, and especially on the last Thanos as well, there's some cheese tactic you can do to never intercept and basically win the fight there. So yeah, Gwenpool is an MVP, and also in those earlier phases, you're going to get the stun, you're going to get a lot of value off that, really, really high damage character as well, so very, very valuable as well. Blade as well is just awesome. Like, the only thing that Blade really brings to the table is the damage, the regeneration. You don't really have time to regenerate at all in the Thanos fight with the pace of it, but also be aware that Danger Sense can break the fight, so Thanos, instead of gaining power, all his power gain is passive, which we'll talk about quite a bit more in the next video, but Danger Sense can, like, shut off his ability to not gain power when hit, which means the Blade, as well as the power gain from Thanos, can also give him power from his hits as well, and then push him over to a phase that he's not supposed to be in, and then he won't throw a special 2, for example. Like, if you're in the first phase, you push him to the special 2, he won't through that, and then you'll have to go up to a special 3, and then he could potentially one-shot the Blade and you die there. So yeah, Danger Sense can break the fight, be aware of that. Medusa is just great for the big damage there as well. Hyperion, very, very similar thing. I've seen a full solo of Hyperion on Reddit, somebody with a 5-star rank 4 one, sorry, rank 5 Hyperion there, should I say, and also the stun in the earlier phases can be very, very valuable as well. Iceman, a great champion for the second Thanos in phase 1 for dealing with that bleed rebound armor, but also very good for eating special attacks with his ice armor in some of the final phases. Archangel, very, very good fight for both Thanoses. Kind of above, what is it, 40%. Maybe not so much the second Thanos. I don't know, kind of at the middle of the second Thanos, Archangel is quite good to bring in. And definitely like the first, 70% of the first Thanos, Archangel is really, really good for. Sabretooth, if you can play well and ramp up the damage, similar to Star-Lord, is going to be a decent option as well. X-23, you got a little bit of regeneration there as well to help you regenerate maybe a little bit of chip block damage and parry damage. Also, yeah, she's just a very immediate damage champion as well. You've got Hulk, who is an Avenger, especially reviving this dude up. You know, he's going to have a lot of damage at the start, the ability to tank special freeze and only take 10%. So yeah, Hulk's very, very valuable. And if you're bringing in Hulk as well, if you have 4 Ragnarok Awakened, he's a great option to bring in, especially like for the first like 60% of the fight, because you are going to, you know, get into your Super Saiyan mode. Because Hulk Ragnarok, he's a character, you get to the special free and then you go Super Saiyan, you got the stun, you got a ton of damage. And also, he's marked as an Avenger as well, which can make him somewhat valuable for the later half of the fight. But, you know, maybe not too insane for that. But if you can get in early with 4 Ragnarok and ramp him up, then yeah, he's going to be quite an interesting option there. Killmonger as well. If you bring him with the Black Panther Civil War synergy, you can potentially tank like 3 special freeze off the bat if you're intercepting and playing well there. And also, a similar trick, actually, the way that you can work Gwenpool in the final phase, you could probably do this with a Killmonger with a Black Panther Civil War synergy as well, just to tank multiple special freeze and yeah, still be able to kill him. So yeah, I'm very interested to show you guys that. Also, Iron Man Infinity War, going to be an insane champion. Also, bleed immune when he has the armor, so going to be great for the first phase of the second Thanos. And then finally, Scarlet Witch, who just has a lot of damage and also is an Avengers tag champion. So yeah, those are who I believe are some of the top characters, and also other potential ones. We have a bit of Wolverine. You know, he's got quite a bit of regeneration that can be helpful through getting through, a lot of block damage if you're taking a little bit too much from the parries and stuff. He's alright for this fight, but the other potentials of champions I think are alright, but, you know, the top dons are comparatively better and bring more to the table. Also, you have Angela and Drax, again, fairly nice, hard-hitting champions that can get into the rhythm of their damage quite quickly. If you're going to bring Angela and you have already stacked Hela as well, might be good to bring for the Angela synergy that Hela has to provide cheap death to the team if, you know, if some opponents are dead. So yeah, that could be potentially good for eating up multiple special frees as well. I think 4 marked as an Avenger is quite a good champion, kind of above 40% health, because you can get a lot of damage in there, but below 40% health where you can't get the stuns off, where you can't really ramp up that damage on the armor break. You know, he's just really not the best champion to bring, but for the first 60% of the fight, he's not too bad at all. And then we have Void. I think this isn't really a fight where Void shines too much, because Void takes like quite a while to ramp up, and I don't think like his ramp up damage is really like too insane. So I think there are other characters that bring a little bit more to the table, but I don't think Void is like too bad overall. If you've already stacked Void, he might be a good addition to the team. Red Hulk, again, a fairly similar kind of ramp up champion that you want to get on from the start to get those 10 heat charges so you can really start laying in. Elektra might potentially be good if you've already stacked one for sub 25% nuke, because she's got the guaranteed crits and the additional damage there. Really good combination with assassins. Also have Storm, who might potentially be good for some people for kind of the first half of the fight, being able to, you know, get those guaranteed stuns in for, well, it's not guaranteed stuns, but it's a really high chance to stun on the special attacks. And also she's got some fairly alright damage as well, so Storm isn't too bad. Nightcrawler, he's got some okay damage as well, but we're already getting into Desperation Station now in terms of the champions. We have Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, some alright damage there. Yellow Jacket, Thanos is going to very reliably throw a lot of his special attacks, so you got some decent damage there. Black Panther OG, who's marked as an Avenger, got some alright damage, but really nothing else to that he's bringing to the table there. We also have Gladiator Hulk, who's an Avenger, but really isn't bringing too much else. And also Sentinel, who's, analysis. You'll be able to get up to 100 quite quickly due to the way that Thanos is, in the earlier phases, you'll be able to get up there quite quickly. So I'd be interested to see like a full Sentinel kill. I think it would be a bit of an interesting one to watch and potentially possible there. But yeah, Sentinel I don't think is overall the best option, and if you do play Sentinel, you want to get in fairly early on. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for part 1 of the Gauntlet Thanos guide. Now, the second part, as soon as it's released, it's going to be a couple of hours after the release of this video. A link to it will be in the description, so check that out for a full fight breakdown. And yeah, we got a ton of footage there. Really cool tips and tricks that we're going to show you when it comes to some of the later phases, because I've just practiced this fight so much, man. So yeah, hopefully a lot of stuff that is going to save people, like an insane amount of units when it comes to the final phase. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen, once again, thank you very much for watching the first of the Thanos guides. If you liked it, feel free to smash that like button, that'd be greatly appreciated. Feel free to share this video with any of your Alliance members that might be struggling. But apart from that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching, take care, and have an absolutely fantastic day.